I hope that this YouTube message comes to you at a time when you've weathered the crazy storm of this last week, and that you're doing okay wherever you are. I thought actually I would share a piece of Torah from this week's Parsha, which is so incredibly relevant and pertinent to what happened in New York City, in the tri-state area, in this part of the country of the United States that got hit so mightily by this Hurricane Sandy. The Torah tells us, Vayeira lav Hashem belonei Mamre, and God appeared to Abraham in the plains of Mamre. V'hu yoshev petach ho'el kachon hayom, and Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. And in the middle of this conversation that God is having with Abraham, what we would refer to as nevuah, as prophecy, the Torah says that Abraham lifted up his eyes, Vayar v'hinei shlosha nashim. He sees these three people walking. Vayar, he sees them, Vayar likratam, and he runs to greet them. And presumably, Abraham is in the middle of a conversation with God. You don't see anything in the text, in the Torah, in the verses, where Abraham turns to God and says, can you give me a minute? I want to check on these three people to make sure that they're okay. In the middle of a conversation with the Almighty, in the midst of a revelation, Abraham just interrupts the conversation to run to these three people he doesn't even know they are, these strangers that he invites into his home, and he, together with Sarah, serve this very elaborate meal and provide them with extraordinary hospitality and comfort. And this, of course, becomes the paradigmatic episode in the Bible, in the Torah, for Achnasat Orchim, for hospitality to strangers. And it is so dramatic that the Talmud, the rabbis, the sages of the Talmud declare that Gedola Hachnasas Orchim, greater is Hachnasas Orchim, is hospitality to strangers, Mikabalat Pnei Hashchina, from receiving the divine presence. Because Abraham was receiving the divine presence, and nonetheless he interrupted that experience in order to attend to these strangers and provide them with hospitality. And we see the very, very important mitzvah of Hachnasat Orchim, and this is incredibly important now because Hachnasat Orchim, hospitality to strangers, at its core is really there to help people in need. We, of course, partake of Hachnasat Orchim in a more of a generic sense when we invite our friends over for a Shabbat meal. It's a very beautiful thing to do. But the mitzvah per se is to engage and help someone who is in need, whether it's physically or spiritually. And this week we've got many people physically in need, without power, without water. And it really is incumbent upon us, even now, a few days after the storm has let up, nonetheless there's no power and there's no water for people downtown. I just received an email that Stern College has 100 plus women who attend Yeshiva University's School for Women who need places. There's no water, there's no power there. And other people, friends of ours who live over the bridge in the burbs, who could really use a phone call, a text, because maybe their phone lines are still down, asking if they'd like to come and spend a few days. And whether you're single, you're married, you have a larger apartment, a smaller place, a home, this is an opportunity to really fulfill the mitzvah of Hachnasat Orchim, of inviting guests and extending ourselves. A wonderful organization, Dorot, which is right around the corner from MGE on 85th between Amsterdam and Columbus, is sending out emails asking for volunteers to help elderly people in the neighborhood throughout the city do some shopping because it's harder to get around without the public transportation. Use this as an opportunity to extend yourself to fulfill the very mitzvah that this week's Parsha opens with, that Abraham felt was so important to interrupt a conversation with God himself, the mitzvah of Hachnasat Orchim. And b'zuchut, in the merit of our reaching out, may each and every one of our brothers and sisters who find themselves in a difficult situation find themselves speedily and soon back in the comfort of their home with water, with power, and with everything else. Shabbat Shalom.